Next question.
In answer to a question by Opposition Member Danny Feetham on what the government was doing to enforce the laws it introduced on fishing with nets in British Gibraltar Territorial Waters, Environment Minister John Cortes said the Environmental Protection and Research Unit was tasked with challenging illegal fishing activities. When the challenges are resisted, he added, the unit reports for process and the case is heard in court. The questions continued.
Mr. Speaker, does he accept the criticism that he in particular, but the government in general, is guilty of huge hypocrisy in having persuaded the people of Gibraltar to elect them in 2011 with the slogan "Aquí no se pesca," when now Spanish fishermen are coming into Gibraltar territorial waters, so to speak, como mate por su casa?
Mr. Speaker, no, sir.
Does the Minister feel satisfied with the current state of affairs with Spanish fishermen coming into Gibraltar territorial waters, como, as I was corrected by the Chief Minister, como Mateo por su casa?
Mr. Speaker, there have been difficulties in the ability of the unit to be able to be out at sea due to technical reasons. I am informed that these are now resolved and therefore their activity will increase, and that, I think, will be reflected in a decrease in illegal activity.
Has those technical difficulties been present over the last 12 years?
Mr. Speaker, no, sir.
Mr. Speaker, when did those technical difficulties first start?
Speaker, without going into too many details, they have been in relation to our vessels, and I think it's a few months, but I think that we are now at the point of resolving them.
Mr. Speaker, what was the difficulty in enforcing our laws in British Gibraltar territorial waters prior to those technical difficulties that arose a few months ago?
Then an intervention by the Chief Minister.
Well, the first one, Mr. Speaker, was something called the fishing agreement that was done by the former administration and which required that the law of Gibraltar not be enforced by the law enforcement agencies of Gibraltar. Something which we were accused by the Honourable Gentleman, when he thought it was popular to accuse us of that, of having torn up. But once we, to use his words, tore it up and started to enforce the laws of Gibraltar, the Honourable Gentleman will remember that the Spanish Foreign Minister used to call me every name under the sun, that Spanish fishermen were on Spanish television accusing us of denying them their livelihood, and that the mayor of Algeciras famously boarded at Rajinia and in the centre of the bay was almost arrested by the former Commissioner of Police. So, Mr. Speaker, we have done a lot to start the process of reinforcing the laws of Gibraltar after the disgraceful fishing agreement entered into by the GSD was finally, properly undone with us, given that it flew in the face of the rule of law. And recently we've had a problem with some of the engines of our vessels and we couldn't do the job as we'd been doing it, but we shall very much look forward to continuing to do it with the vigour necessary to ensure that the laws of Gibraltar are respected and enforced in the proper way. Insofar as enforcement relates to us, because this is a matter which is in the hands of the Ministry of the Environment. But I do, obviously, Mr. Speaker, recall that he was a member of the government that did the fishing agreement, or pursued the fishing agreement.
The meeting of Parliament has now ended. A bill to amend the Damages Act 2019 to allow the courts to award damages for personal injury in periodical payments was passed unanimously.